Warning. This program contains coarse humor and a sense of language that some people might not share. Viewer discretion is advised.
I put my head down on the table and covered it with my hands. If only I could sink into the ground right away. The girls remained silent. I was left alone with my thoughts for some time, and that was fine by me. Maybe I could have sat that way until the dinner ended, but the strong voice of Olga Dmitrievna was heard from the opposite end of the canteen. "Guys, to celebrate the miraculous rescue of our comrade Shirk, we bake you all cake." I lifted my head idly and looked towards the camp leader, but couldn't see anything beyond the pioneers' backs. "A second, just a second." And nothing about me. Nothing about me rescuing Shirk or gathering the ingredients for the cake. As if that's how it ought to be. Well, it would be wrong to expect anything else from our camp leader. "Let's go, or we won't get our share." Slavia smiled. "Let's go." Lena agreed. "Yeah, sure." I got up reluctantly and tagged along behind the girls. As we approached the crowd of pioneers, Olga Dmitrievna was just putting the cake in the center of the table. "And now?" The camp leader wasn't able to finish as Uliana rushed out from behind the pioneer crowd and dived into the cake. She managed to nibble it a few times before she was pulled away. And she was kicking and screaming. I stared blankly from outside of all this drama. Alyssa smiling, Lena picked up some cream with her finger, all the furious pioneers. I felt completely out of place here. I thought that if I closed my eyes and opened them again, here I am, back to the safety of my apartment in front of my computer. I blinked, but nothing changed. Only the noise and confusion became sharper. "Oliana, that's the limit." I just... Well, in fact, behaving like this is a bit over the top even for her. Shirk broke into the conversation. Or is it a court-martial? "Please, Olga Dmitrievna. Since the cake is celebrating my return, it's no big deal." He hesitated. "It doesn't matter." The camp leader turned to Uliana. "And you? Today I'm going to punish you to the full extent, so you'll behave next time." Whatever." She snorted and turned back. "You won't be going on the hike with us tonight." As if I wanted to. It was more like I was more willing to switch places with Ilyana and skip the hike instead of her, but who knew? But if I had have guessed beforehand, I'd have been the first one to go berserk and smash the damn cake. After a couple of minutes of confusion, the pioneers started to disperse. "You have to get ready too. There'll be a lineup in the square in half an hour." I looked straight in the eyes of our camp leader, trying to express my attitude non-verbally, but it seems that I failed. "Don't be late." Liana was sitting at the table when I approached her on my way to exit. "So why did you do it?" She looked very upset, but she had a right to be so. "I wanted to," Uliana replied abruptly. "So you're happy now?" "Of course I am. And good luck with the damn hike." She smiled mischievously, sprang up, and rushed out of the canteen. Well, a little bit of luck wouldn't hurt. "Walk and you shall reach" is exactly the proverb that kept swirling in my head as all the way down to the camp leader's cabin. Just somehow, I couldn't manage to argue to pretend that I'm sick or just skip out without reason. The events of this day taught me submissiveness, although sometimes whatever was happening made no sense to me. As I walked in, I had a thought. Well, in fact, how should I get ready? Clothes? I only have an overcoat and a pair of jeans. Anyway, I forgot to ask whether it's going to be an overnight hike or not. I couldn't think of anything better, so I grabbed a sweater that I had only on me when I arrived at the camp. The night might be fairly chilly, and shuffled slowly towards the square. All the camp was already there, although it seemed like 10 minutes before the time that Olga Dmitrievna had designated. I settled down near the edge and waited patiently. Night was falling. If viewed from the outside, what a fairly comical picture this would make. A crowd of pioneers lined up out of sheer habit, like they were awaiting a silent command from the bronze Genya. And all this happening in the scarlet rays of the sunset. And there he is, waving his hand and screaming, "Attack!" as roaring soldiers with red neckerchiefs charge into battle against some ghostly enemy. But Olga Dmitrievna showed up and started to talk instead of Genda. "It seems everybody's here. Great." I was so tired today that I couldn't even think about anything. I just ended up listening to the camp leader. "Now today we'll go hiking. It is essential that every pioneer be able to rescue their comrades, so offer helping hand in the hour of need, saving them from a hopeless situation. If we all do these things together..." A whisper ran through the pioneer crowd that suggested that most probably this truly epic expedition would end in clearing the forest several hundred feet away from the square. Somehow I thought so too. "We'll walk in pairs. So if you haven't chosen a partner yet yourself, now's the time to do so." Pioneers quickly caught on to the idea and started to match in pairs. It looked like I was the only one without a partner. Slavia was enthusiastically discussing something with Olga Dmitrievna, Lena was with Miku, Electronic was, of course, with Shurik. Well, it might not be a bad idea to go alone after all. "Semyon!" The voice of the camp leader pulled me out of my thoughts. I went up to her reluctantly. "I see you haven't found a partner." "It seems like that." "Then you'll join Xenia. She's alone too." I was stuck with a special kind of despair that only a true loner can experience. So it appears that I'm left with the prickly librarian that I would rather risk spending a couple of hours with, even if I wasn't paid for. I wouldn't risk spending a couple of hours with. Although, we both seem to be in the same boat now. I slowly approached Xenia. "Well, I guess we'll be going together." She looked up at me. "Don't even think I'm that glad," said Xenia seriously. "Why on earth should you feel glad?" I asked naively. "Never mind. It'd be much better if you just shut up." I couldn't get any better than this. She turned her back on me and followed the other pioneers. I still hadn't seen any special reason to walk in pairs. Anyway, we were walking on a well-trodden forest trail, and it would be difficult to get lost here even if you wanted to. Moreover, we'd already been hiking for over an hour. We weren't pushing into the depths of the forest, trying to face all the dangers that we could test our courage and harden our pioneer spirits, but instead we were just walking around in circles. However, if we take into account that Olga Dmitrievna was our chief, this hike would be compared to a hobbit's march from Shire to Mordor. Just as Xenia insisted, I was following her at a distance in silence. The librarian seemed perfectly okay with it. "Hey, do you know when we'll reach our destination?" "Our what?" The place we'll settle down and set up camp." The whole point of this camp... What's her voice? I keep forgetting. The whole point of this hike isn't to set up camp, but the hiking itself. You don't get it. Yeah, it seemed that I didn't understand anything about hiking. I guess you're right, but still. I don't know. She replied sharply and quickened her pace. I caught up with her and asked, "Listen, why are you always so..." I was about to say mean, but I stopped short. "I haven't done anything bad to you, and I'm not going to." She glared at me in surprise. "Always so... what?" "Well, unsociable, kind of. Or is it something about me?" "Oh, cut that stupidity out already." "As you wish." I decided not to start a conversation with her for the rest of the hike.